Hey everyone, sorry about that. Internet crashed, just yay,
Too much great information.
2020.
Right?
Yeah, that's right. Your information was too bomb.
Information overdose.
They couldn't, the internet could not handle it.
I'll try to talk a little bit slower, promise. So we have enough bit rates, right, to transfer it.
No, you're good. We're not even doing anything too crazy. So going back to that, we were talking about building a good team, and I don't know where it cut off, so maybe kind of like start again where you were at with that.
That was the most important information that I wanted to share today with you guys. So
yeah, and
it
it's
was cut.
gone.
Sorry, you lost. But yeah, well, I mean, again, it's like to sum it up is like I think it might be a little bit more difficult today than it was back in 2014, even it was not that long time ago. But like, not sure if we covered all this free AAA games that being released and you have to compete with your indie products, but yeah, so it is a little bit challenging, but like I think how you want to build it if you're kind of like a basement developer, right, it's like is connecting with the good people and making sure that you can pitch your idea to them properly, so that they can support you and start developing it with you. So yeah.
I think also another thing that I found really interesting is, it's when you're starting off, I think it's also a good idea to make sure that, you're not going to get these AAA developers to work on your game right away.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I think that shouldn't be even a thing. It's like, yeah, don't think that you can afford guy with experience working on like, it's like Naughty Dogs or Zynga or any other. It's like if they already been getting good paychecks, I don't think like also is even if you can pay one developer like the full amount, it's like you'd rather like try to squeeze and find two developers to help you with your game instead of having one big one. So like, yeah, it will be slower, it will be a little bit more draggier, but like again, it's like now you have a team like that you can like have not one opinion but two opinions and strategize together and develop it. It's just more fun when you have like a little bit more people. It's like it's hard to get like industry veterans to support your just like idea or passion. So guys are professionals, like they come to work like on a great games and also get paid well for that.
What do you think is a motivational factor in having, like, obviously if you can't pay people like competitive prices, what are some other alternative ways that a studio or a company can provide like added bonuses to their employees?
Well, I mean, again, it's like your ability to pitch your idea, right? Like your ability to pitch your game is like for them to see opportunity to, like the guys who were joining me back then is they look at it as like, hey, it's like nobody really wants me as well because I don't have that great experience, even though it's like you might be a great programmer. It's just like sometimes you need to get your feet wet, right, to start working.
All those requirements on those job applications, they're like 2-3 years of experience, have launched a product. Yeah, totally.
Right, which is kind of like I don't know, it's like how much I support that, because like that kind of closes the doors to talents, right? Like creative people that want to get into the industry, and you're just like, oh no, you don't have experience, like you know nothing, or it's like, or it's like it's not always about that. It's like some people have a great skills and talent to kind of like grow along with you. And
well, I think that's where a lot of the junior positions go, like the junior programmer or junior game design. Even if there are requirements on like the website, a lot of the times companies will still take you even if you don't meet exactly those requirements. So still apply, because you never know what will happen.
Yeah. I think creative environment is a little bit less crazy like that. Myself is like I got like in advertising without experience, like being a visual designer, and work with some of the greatest San Diego advertising companies. And that came with like I didn't really have the experience, but I had the talent to show. It's like I've been doing my YouTube videos, so like you can also probably do the portfolios and shows like, hey, look at how my ragdolls, in my this game is like this, like using like pretty cool like technology behind it. That it's just building your own portfolio. But yeah, it's like I would say if you're a craftsman, if you create your game. My advice will be like don't even if you can't pay people, don't offer percentage if you can. It's like, because that will come back, and that's like, you don't want to do that. Like, you can promise like bonuses and stuff like that. That's good. Like, you can say, it's like, hey, if we release this game, get the 50K bonus or something if we sell X amount of copies. You know,
What do
like,
you think is the downfall of offering percentages?
because you're linked yourself to the guy that you barely know. You know, it's like, you don't know how it's gonna, like, how you're gonna progress. Is like, you know, it's like, everybody nice when you start working with them. Every like, you're never gonna start working with a-hole, right? Like, it's never gonna happen.
They want
Like,
the job, so they gotta,
yeah, but
they
like,
gotta
there's
buddy
still
up.
but there's still people that you're not agrees, like, through the time. And it's like, if you link someone with that, like, you're gonna have troubles like unlinking yourself from that. You know, it's like, so that's why it's like it's still good to have a good, healthy partner, but like, you don't want to do it from the beginning. You know, it's like, it's fine to do it like somewhere. It's like, when you're established, you feel like, oh, this guy is everything that I need. You know, it's like, he's helping me, or a gal, with everything. So then, yeah, so that would be one of the advices. Like, don't start throwing your percentages at people just because you can't pay them. Just, yeah, the bonuses sound attractive enough. You know, it's like, you can say, it's like, hey, like, if we sell 100,000 copies, you get 50K. If we sell 500,000 copies, you get 500,000. You know, and things like that. So I like, based on my experience, I think that's the best route, to be honest.
So you're doing that mostly so that you have an out just in case that maybe they're not, you know, great to work with. You're not stuck with them.
You don't know how things can change. You know, it's like, maybe you're not the great to work with. You know, it's like, maybe yourself is like, people might not like, but you still attached together. You know, it's like, with that, it's like, you can't just like stop working with someone, or he can stop working with you. It's like, it just like gonna follow you everywhere.
Do you think your background in marketing has helped you kind of being able to, like, not only market your product, but like market your business in order to attain these people who are interested in joining your team?
I would like to think so. Yeah, I think it definitely helped. And being like, kind of like a creative, like, being in the creative environment as well, is like, kind of helped. It's like, I never been selling anything. Well, no, I did. I actually did. It's like, I've been selling. I've been selling personal loans.
The truth comes out,
right? It's like now we know why you talk like that. But like, yeah, I've been selling actually very predatory loans, like, with a 36% rate. When I first moved in the US, I was working with like Citibank, and we've been selling loans with like 36% interest rate. And they taught me a little bit of selling, because you sell that crap, I would say, is like, to people. You know, you have to learn how to sell it, because not everyone would want that. And I think it's all contributed a little bit to how you work, because there's a lot. If you're a CEO or founder, I think there's a lot of like, not only knowledge of what you're doing, is like, it's a lot of knowledge of like working with people. You know, it's like, it's and it's not that I had it from the get-go. You know, it's like, I just been learning that as I've been progressing. I did a lot of mistakes myself, of course, and it's still pretty challenging process, because every person is different. You know, different approach for everyone needed.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about different approaches for different people. Do you have any advice on like how to deal with different types of people, or you know, when building a team, how to create the right environment for the right people?
Well, I mean, I'm overall, like, myself, I'm not, even though it's like, I've been like leading my team all the time, but like, I never been bossy with them. Maybe I got a little bit bossy, like, if the team got like bigger, like more now than before. But like, building the team was not based on being bossy. It's like, it was based on, you know, it's like, you can't, like, I think it's like, it always been like that, we're in the same level. You know, it's like, we all create this thing, and you contribute your part. And it's like, everybody's opinion is important, but of course you have to have your own vision. You know, it's like, you talk to people and things like that. But like,
So trying to keep
think
the hierarchy being more like flatly structured and in the sense of like
Correct.
everyone's say is important. I think a lot of companies have been trying to do this now where like every CEO is like, no matter who you are, average Joe person, like whatever, come talk to me. And I think sometimes that can be intimidating for people because they're like, oh, this is the person who created all of this, like, right? Or this is the CEO or the creative director.
You don't want to say something.
Yeah, they're like
afraid.
afraid. Like, do you find that people sometimes are maybe like afraid to talk to you, or are there tips that you have that you could probably provide those people who are like in the same position as you and they want everyone in their company to be able to come to them, but not everyone's like, able
to be honest, I don't think that we're at that scale where people can think it was like, oh yeah, I don't know, should I go talk to Alex or not? Like maybe he's mad today or something. So it's not really something that is. We're more like straight, it's like on the same lines. Like matter of fact, I wish maybe I would be a little bit more meaner to like or stronger. I guess it's like a good word is like but like I like a little bit too friendly with my employees. It's like we're in the same kind of level.
Maybe
and
more
having a lot of fun
is the word you're going for, like keeping the atmosphere a little bit or the relationship more professional.
I mean,
less
still
friendly.
can be professional, but like I don't think that being friendly is unprofessional. It's like I can
agree with that.
Yeah, it's more like it's like it's just like sometimes a-holes have a greater results than friendly people. It's like because like they like when your employee is afraid of you, they will try to kind of do the better job because they don't want to get in trouble. It's like that's like different. Like it might be different for different companies, but like I think it's like for me the challenge is like I would like we'll listen everybody's opinion. And sometimes there's too many opinions to please or to satisfy. It's like it's like, and sometimes it feels like maybe we need less opinions, and more like being more a little bit targeting is like on everybody's skills. But like everybody love to like in our team, everybody love to contribute with their ideas, and it's like again we appreciate that, but sometimes it can be a little bit stressful because like now I have to prove myself right in front of all of them. It's like if they don't agree with you. It's like five versus one.
Yeah, totally. I can see that. I mean, a lot of the structure. That's a lot of why like companies have structure of someone who kind of guides the creative direction, right? And then you're able to be like, well, everyone's opinion goes into this pool, and maybe not everything is taken action on, but like everyone's heard, everyone feels heard, but like we decided to go with this because of X or Y or Z. And I think a lot of people in companies, as long as they were given a reason why maybe the decision went a different way than what those 5 people really wanted, can kind of help.
Oh, it's becoming like it's like it's a boring corporate topic where you start kind of like it's very complex puzzle. It's like
like some of the comments have said, the other problem is if you are an a-hole and you are kind of like terrorizing your employees, that always does tend to cause problems as well in its own way. Whether that's
by the way, all
burnout, things like that.
The thing is that's true. That's bad for morale, but that's still good for productivity. Like as you can see, it's like
that, low morale. If
to some point, right?
May not be productive. I think there is. You can't be super nice that you let the employees walk over you, but obviously you can't be mean to the point where like
they're gonna leave.
They're unhappy with you.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is like it's very complex topic. It's like there's like you have to kind of adjust on a daily basis. It's like what do you do and how you do it. It's like, and again, it's like for me, it's like I'm more on the friendly side where I feel like I can be a little bit more. I don't know.
I think
or something.
The 2 topics that were brought up though in chat are actually great topics on building a good team and being able to provide a company where people want to work. How do you handle like keeping morale up? And especially when you're working with a small team, you're trying to accomplish a lot in a small period of time with a small group. Sometimes it can really get to people, and then also the element of burnout and like how you handle that.
I think the main thing that drives people to do better is kind of healthy creative competition, where it's like one feels like, hey, I might be stronger than that guy and I will show. It's like in a good way. It's like not like starting cutting that guy's like on a halfway or something like that. But like, it's, again, I feel like the healthiest thing is to be excited about, like, by yourself, be excited about what you guys do, you know. It's like, and everybody see that you're not working to earn money, you're working because you want to deliver good product, you know. It's like, and that people see it and people feel it, and they start working with kind of same setup, you know. Is like, I think that's important. It's like, if you don't believe it in your own product and you're just doing it because like, hey, I'm gonna release it and grab whatever I can and just like move on, it's like, of course nobody gonna follow you, you know.
Yeah, and I'm gonna let you know, if you are at the game industry for money, you should probably maybe go to another industry.
There are other industries that may be better for you.
It's very
much
unstable.
a passion project. I mean, there are obviously positions where you can make a lot of money, and there are people who can kind of like jump ship a lot and make money. But I think that's not always going to be like people will pick up on it when they look at your resume after a while. So
I think it applies to like the creativity, right? Like if you're in a creative environment, is like, the talent usually travel a lot from company to company. It's like, doesn't matter what, it's like the same happens in the movie industry as well. It's like, if you're like video editor or advertising as well, is like, things change in the companies a lot. There's like, sometimes you have
a lot of times it's product too. It's like, once a product ends, they lay off a lot of people, and your product could be a hit and they still do layoffs in order to make sure that their funding is high enough for like the next project that they're trying to make. That's the entertainment industry. It is rough. I
personally think it's like, it's more fun. Our environment is more fun for people that would love to create stuff than just work for someone. And you guys have more, like, you guys doing more stuff for those kind of people that actually creating their own projects in their basements, kind of, you know. It's like, and I think that's the best. Like, that's my personal like direction in life. Is like, I love creating stuff. It's like, everything that I've been doing is like, I always try to create my own thing, you know. It's like, this, like, not to show someone, but like for myself to it's like, hey, I can, you know. It's like, I can do this, like let me try this. Like, same thing happens, like, I start doing that YouTube videos. Is like, when I was like maybe one of the first one who started doing this weird spit up videos. Like, there's the spit paintings and then there's spit arts, like where you put things together. It's like, I just wanted, it's like, my idea was like, I want to make movies. I don't have money, right? It's like, but like, I want to create something like really cool, really epic. And then they start, I'm going to record what I'm doing with my Photoshop, you know. It's like on screen, because when I show my picture to someone, they saying, it's like, oh, that's cool, dude. It's like, you make,
they don't know
really,
what the work
really cool.
that went into it.
I was like, it's not cool, it's amazing. Let me show you why. You know, it's like, because you see end result and it's just like, it works together, and it's like, I want to show how I put it together, and then I put the epic music on top of that, and it just worked. And I was like, people start like liking it like crazy. And that's with everything. Is like, I think it's like, you just like do things, because when I start doing that YouTube videos, I never did that for money. It's like, I think when I even started it, YouTube was not open for like public monetization, right? Like they started doing that after like a while, and then it's like, I was like doing it for free. Like, what was driving me is positive comments. Is like, I post the video, I go in comments.
The chemicals,
like, people,
the chemicals.
Yeah, it's like, so good. Like, yeah, I'm so great.
Public adoration.
Like, right? But it's just like, it makes you feel good when somebody appreciates your work, you know,
and it
especially
makes you
when
feel terrible when they don't appreciate your work too.
Well, it's like, there's more good people than bad people, I feel like. It's like, even though like we all see that there's like trolls and stuff like that, but like, the community is overall supportive if you're like at least doing like something decent, you know. It's like, there's like, they'll defend you. It's like, they definitely will come out and start defending you. It's like, you're still gonna see that. Like,
it also depends on the type of community that you build, right? Like, if a lot of creative folks build like fellow creative folk communities, which I think are definitely people who want to learn and inspire each other and kind of create things and make stuff. But there are definitely communities out there who create videos that are just drama pieces or just trying to, you know, spread hate. So I think like it depends on the type of community that you're building, for sure.
Are we moving on that topic about
no. Not quite. I think that's going to be at the end.
I can start like going out of it.
At the end, we have like your other miscellaneous stuff, which I think incorporates that. But we can move into the next topic, which is publishing sorry, not publishing, working while in early access. So early access is a very interesting topic because, a lot of gamers and consumers have thoughts on what they think about early access products. For instance, a lot of content creators are like, if you're in early access, then you are at a stage where we should be able to totally judge you. And because we can see the product, we can play the product, we should be able to assess and review your product. And I think sometimes this can hinder a company when it comes to reviews, which is a perfect segue. When you have bad reviews on your early access product, even though it's not a launched and finished, completed title. So I know you had some complications just like within the first few hours, just because the product wasn't actually like downloadable and playable or something like that. Can you kind of like walk us through that and like how you guys overcame that?
Yeah, basically, so the Steam launch is probably most important thing in your life for your product, right? Like, so you don't want that thing to not work well. It's like that's like we work towards that our entire life. Well, I mean, our entire life as a developer, even with the university, we had to stay up for like 3 days in a row before the launch to fix. It's crunching, right? Like, but like for us, it was kind of new. It's like it was not intentional. Like we didn't have anyone behind our backs who was like, "Hey guys, you have to do it." It's like, no, we knew that we have to address things before we release. It's like, even though like it's negative for everyone, it's like, oh, you got your company crunching. It's like, I mean, in some cases you have to, like, I'm with pleasure. Like, it's a little bit unfair because I'm a founder of the company, but I'm with pleasure will stay and work for my product a little bit more because that's my work. I want it to shine, right? Even if I work for other guy, I would do that. But like,
I think generally people are willing to. That's why we get in the state of burnout and having too much crunch. I think the problem happens whenever there's no there's nothing in return for crunch. Like, a lot of people will give comp time, which I think is a valid way to like compensate for doing overtime or paying overtime or whatever that may be. Compensating people for that extra added hours, because that's time that they're not spending with their family. That's time that they're not spending sleeping or whatever it might be.
Right.
So it is a little stressor on people's lives. So I can totally understand.
It's also probably frequency, right? It's like if you have to do that like once in 3-5 years, it's like, yeah, with pleasure, but like when the company pressing you to do that every freaking month is like that's where you have a problem with management versus with us not
get
like
a new producer
trying to help
and project manager.
Yeah, it's like do better planning, do better road mapping. It's like if you make us work like that, it's like every freaking month, then it's like something wrong with you, not with like But so yeah, so back to that. So we've been working for 3 days before the release, and it's like a lot of fans, like, even though it's like we're not the biggest, it's like we're medium to kind of like more like smaller side of like from what the game can be, is like, but we had a lot of fans waiting for it. A lot of people on Twitter, on Facebook, everywhere, just like having messages and excited about the event, and they've been withholding. Like, somebody's like, yeah, I don't want to get it from your website, I want Steam. It's like, that's where I have all my games. And for some of them, that was a big event. And then we
and this was after you had already released it on your website, where you sold like the 50,000 copies or whatever that might be.
Yeah,
and then
that's why it's not really bad thing of like, and that's like was our experience. It's not a really bad thing to have like kind of like a pre-launch or
soft launch.
Like on your own web soft launch. Yeah, it's like on your website and kind of gather that feedback and process the feedback before you go Steam. That's why I started with that. It's like I think that's important. That was important for us because we avoided like, who knows, maybe we would have like negative reviews or something like that, you know. And when we release it, congratulations, went live, right? And we start getting tons and tons of messages. We launched, by the way, with 300,000 wish list, I believe, like a little bit over that.
Nice.
So as you know or not, when you release the game, it notifies your wish list that the game is available for purchase. And for a lot of people, it was exciting, and they went to buy it, and they didn't have the buy button. It's like it's on our the game is released.
No.
It shows that it's released, but there's no buy button. They sending us messages like there's no buy button. It's like, and it's like, oh I don't know. It's like, what's our censorship here? But like, yeah, oh shit moment, right? You know.
You're okay for a 1-0 shit.
Yeah. All right. So they used one life. So yeah, and like back then we were like still kind of like not in a good relationship with Valve as everybody else. It's like, it's not just a good relationship, you don't have them, you know. It's like you don't have a relationship with Valve might have a relationship with you if they want to, but like they like, and we're like, okay, if we send them a message, it's like usually based on stories, it takes like weeks for them to respond, right? It's like, you can imagine 3 days no sleep. It's super stressful. It's like you release it and it's not there. And
what ended up being the problem? Like,
so basically nobody knows, like, as how it usually goes with Valve is like,
oh boy,
something happened, you know. It's like, and then we reached we reached them, and like surprisingly and thankfully they responded really quick, within like 3-4 hours, I think, and we got that button back. And so you usually don't get like a straight answer from them what's wrong. Is like, it's usually sound like we did something wrong, but like the platform is so kind of old, you know. It's like there's so many, before the release you have to click on so many buttons, but like, again, it tells you that
like
it
this
was
whole from the developer side. So if you've never been on the developer side of it, they have like a whole publishing platform, like web page that you have to like fill out all these things. You have to fill all these images that are the certain size. You have to fill out all these different boxes. You have to make sure that like, it's just like a lot that goes into the back end of just even getting your page prepared, and then obviously the program side of it, which is like a whole nother element.
Yeah, there's also regional prices that needs to be approved, and it's like a lot of like, yeah, images is like is a smaller thing, because like when you submit images, like it shows you red or greens, like if they passed or not. It's like, but like there's like a lot. The problem is it's scattered, right? Like if you do images on the one side, you have to go on a different side.
Oh yeah, and you still have to. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, is there like lunch price? Is there a lunch discount? And so all that is like, in most cases, have to be approved and things like that. So I mean, we of course.
And I think they have a deal too, where it's like,
you know?
if you have a sale that's in your game, you also have to have it on the Steam platform as well. So you have to like make sure that those things correlate.
Yeah, and it's of course like we like spending that much time and being so invested in that, we triple check. We I don't know what's more than quadruple check. It's like you know, it's like, but we did those checks, you know. It's like, and it still didn't work.
Well, it won't let you even publish unless you have all of this stuff approved. So.
Exactly, that's exactly the thing. Is like it was like it shouldn't let you publish if at least one check mark not checked.
Yeah, it usually like that's how
automatic.
The process is supposed to work.
And yeah, it's like it didn't work. Then they fixed it. There'll be a little bit like more fun part after that. But so basically they fixed it, right? And the buy button appeared, and we went on top cells. We went on the top cells above like the Monster Hunter, and it was like we've been sitting there for like maybe 5 days. I think it's just like at the very top, and was exciting times. And it's like felt like really weird. It's like, for me it felt like, you know, it's like, since I didn't sleep for 3 days, and we released it, and after lunch at the release, is like, okay, we fixed everything, so doesn't need us. I'm gonna go sleep, you know. It was like after lunch. And before that, we had like a real quick fix that we're gonna press and patch the game so that people can, like, there was a little bug.
As soon as you say that, I'm getting PTSD thinking about it.
Yeah. So we had like, I think it's over like close to 3,000 people simultaneously playing the game, and I was like, yeah, release that fix. And I went home. So I released that fix and drive back home. It's like I arrived back home. It's like my wife sees me first time in the 3-4 days, you know, and she's like, oh yeah, good, congrats. And it's like we were not even tracking sales or anything. I was not knowing if we're doing well or if we're not doing that well. It's like I just know that top sales is kind of makes it.
When you were going into this project, were you thinking about it more of like a passion project rather than thinking about like how much you're making? Is that kind of why?
Well, I mean, money is great, right? Like everybody wants money. It's like, but it's kind of like, yeah, I want to earn money with that project, you know. It's like, but like I'm still doing it because I love it. It's like because I want this game to be that game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, but like if you can do something and still earn money for that, that's the best thing to do. You know, it's like, and yeah, I can't say that it's like money was a driving factor. Like, of course it was driving factor, but it's like equal. You know, it's like you want to earn a lot for your dream to come true, to where you can put the team together, start working on new projects and things like that.
Yeah.
And
but at this point, you were just tired. You weren't thinking about it.
I was like, yeah, I was like, well, I mean, what kind of relieved me is seeing it in the top sales, right? Like I was like, okay, like we missed a lot, but like it still went there, because my worry was like, because of that bumpy launch, is like we're not gonna do well.
Hopefully they like put you on the front page and maybe did the IM for you and stuff like that in return for messing up. So.
Well, I mean, as much as we've been pressing them, like after working with them on that, is like they don't do that officially. It's like they're not officially. Like we never seen them to push you because you're asking or because they screwed up. It's like they always go is like, our system is at a magic. Like if you're doing well, if you have a good sales, our system puts you on the top sales or featuring and everywhere. It's like, so it's kind of like hands down approach. But I mean, yeah, and so basically, yeah, back to that. So I released a little patch and went home, and what happened is, basically I released empty branch that wiped out the game for everyone who purchased it.
Oh,
so
no.
that was like, and I don't have access to Steam at my home. I think I had like a Mac or something. And I was like, oh shit! It's like that's my second life. I'm sorry. I have 3 total, right? It's like was a thing. But yeah, so I'm at home, and it's like, okay, now I need to rush back at work, because there is like the channels of like people, like angry people complaining. Is like, this game is gone. I've been playing it for a few hours now. All my saves, everything is gone. It's like, that was a stressful thing. It's like I had to drive back. I don't remember if I was like kind of like spitting or racing, but like I got to work really quick, and I fixed that.
No one pulled you over.
Yeah, like fixed it really quick. So maybe nobody even see me that how fast I was driving back. You know, it was like, but so yeah, we fixed that, and that was our early access release. So it's kind of it
Were
was
you
a
able
journey.
to like roll it back so that users had all of their saves?
Well, I mean, you can always roll back on Steam, right? Like they have like when you push something, it's like change sets, like so you can always like jump back. You know, it's like really it's matter of click. You know, it's like jumping back. I just didn't have access, and that made me drive back. And I knew that, and that's why I was like, I'm gonna go back and really quickly fix it. And but that was a stressful.
Do you now have a PC at your house instead of a Mac?
Yeah. Now I'm prepared. It's like, oh, well, at the same time, I will not make the same mistake again, because like I know how it works.
Cross your fingers. Like, you say that now.
Yeah. Right. But so it was a little bumpy launch, and it's like we launched a few games, and we helped launch a few games on Steam in the past, and I can tell you, it's like in 90% there's a trouble. Something happens. It's like if you guys launch your games for the first time ever, like just stress Steam. Is like Valve. You can send them a message and say, it's like, hey, go and double check everything. So it's better to have for them to owe you if you ask them to check and they saying everything is fine. So you'll have a better relationship because they screwed something. You know, it's like, I mean, maybe magically they will put you somewhere. You know, it's like. But based on our conversation, and we've been at Valve, we've been chatting, we've been at their headquarters and been spinning that wheel, you know, it's like in their central office, yeah. So they just like they always back up. They're just like, yeah, no matter how nice you are with them, they're not gonna. I mean, maybe bigger companies like AAA studios might have a better like kind of agreements where they can bribe them to get their project somewhere, but like. Based on our experiences, like it's kind of like more or less fair play. You know?
What do you think are? Do you think there are some best practices that people can utilize when doing an early access launch? And if so, like what would those be?
Well, that's one of the main one is asking them to review everything that you're done. It's like kind of like few days
Just doing that
ahead.
like
It's like,
double,
hey,
triple, quadruple check, as you
yeah,
said.
it's like system, like again, system tells you that everything is fine, but it was telling us everything is fine with Universum. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to release it. And yeah, just sending them a message and says like, hey, can you assign someone to just make sure it's like it's my first game. Want to make sure that it at least launches. You know, it's like because you can't ask for more. Like they're not going to do like nothing more unless you have a good wish list. I hope they're not listening and hating me for that, but like, because I mean, overall, what's most important, I think, for Steam, and if you want to get featured automatically, is your wish list. And
what do you think is a good way to get your product on people's wish list?
Pretty much is doing blogging. Probably is like sharing it, because what made Universum bigger, like had a lot of wish list before the launch, is every month I've been writing blogs, at least like one blog a month, like good decent blogs with like concept arts. It's like if you put it in page, it's like maybe like three to 5 pages long. You know, so with different content, what we're working on, how we're working on.
It's kind of like a newsletter almost of like your product development updates.
Yes, yeah. The news messaging is very important. Like you want to acquire using MailChimp, because when you do blogging, is you want to notify those people that you have new information for them to read. And I read multiple times in our comments that people enjoying that as much as they enjoy your game, maybe in some cases even more, because I've seen people saying like, I love coming and I'm checking your website just for blogs. You know, it's like, because and our approach with the Universum was always to make it easy to read, less technical, right? Like we always spice it up with silly humor, is like that kind of like little stupidity, you know. It's like, so people like because you want kind of like person read it and laugh and it's like, or smile at least,
have a good time.
That will make them continue reading it. And we've been doing that. That was our main approach with Universum, and with like again publishing it on a monthly basis. User acquisition is extremely important. Is like, that's when you use MailChimp, you know, or social medias like Twitter and Facebook's. But I think our main tool was a MailChimp to deliver all that information. So we've been asking them to subscribe, because Twitter, Facebook, you have less control on like who you deliver your message to. You know, it's like
sometimes it doesn't go in their notifications.
Yeah, they can miss it. They can just, but like where email, right, you put it directly in their mailbox. You know, it's like you just like, hey, go read it. It's like there's a new update, and we doing a great job on emails. Like, because I'm a visual designer myself, it's like we put like super fancy, nice looking emails. People love receiving them, and trying not to spam them too often. But like, yeah, once a month blogging is great. Yeah, the blogging is really healthy. Of course, like posting it everywhere you can. Imgur, some say Imgur, but like Imgur, Reddit, doing, I'm gonna say GIFs.
I was gonna say GIF or GIF. That's the next controversial one.
Right? I'm gonna have two more hours discussing that easily can be done, right?
Do you find that, like, did you, in your process, like you said, you were writing the article, did you at some point like hire somebody to kind of manage your social media and your community management, or do you kind of handle that as well on top of your work?
I've been handling it mostly by myself, but of course I've been having someone who's been proofreading it for me, because like, yeah, my even though my English is amazing and great, as you can hear, but like yeah, I still didn't trust myself enough to just release it like that. So I've been writing it, like, so most of it is mine, but like I've been asking, we have a copywriter that basically making sure that the mood is the same. You know, it's like we've been trying to be consistent with like our blogs and the game itself.
Yeah.
Because like we've been kind of like translating humor here and there. You know, it's like just like cross.
Keeping the voice.
Promoting. Yeah.
It's one of the things that like whenever I'm creating brand stuff, and one of the first things that I did when I joined Intrepid is like being like, what is the voice? Like who like. What is the kind of voice that you want to go for? Because some people do want to go with a humor route. Some people don't. So you have to kind of like decide on that right away, so that as soon as people read something or see something, they initiate and like realize what your brand is, right?
you're creating identity for your product, right? Like so that they can identify, even by like reading little paragraph somewhere, they will be like, sound like the universum, you know, it's like, or something like that. It's like, or like telling someone, it's like, oh, your silly jokes is like this guy's jokes, you know. It's like, so it's just good for your fans to reference to it, like, and bring you to the table even in the different places, you know.
Oh yeah, totally.
But yeah. So the blogging is, I think blogging was great, and selling the game earlier was good. I can see that it can't work for every single game, mainly because it depends on genre, right? Like you can't do a story game and start selling it. It's like with our game we have like that opportunity to do that because it's like a strategy game
like
where and it's like you're evolving game through months. You know, it's like when with a story driven game, like, or maybe even platformer, like people gonna beat it and there are not much reasons to come back and replay it. Like I think that works great for sandbox games. Is like if you can't sandbox, if you have a sandbox game, releasing it earlier is, and getting feedback is good, you know. But and that helped us, like, and some of the biggest YouTubers, like the funny part is like I never send it. We had the forums for YouTubers, but I was not even into that. Like some of the YouTubers, like big YouTubers, made the Universum videos, and I didn't even know. It's like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give you a key based on like your like request, and some of them even purchased it, I think. Yeah,
that's always
the YouTubers are gonna. Yeah, no, of course. I was like a little bit less. That's the thing, is like what changed is like I was more about like game development than marketing. I was not doing much marketing back when I was like doing the game, you know. I was like, and it's just like fact of like having great product itself. It's like the having a game that people want to play, they will come, you know. It's like some people can pour a lot of money to promote something that people don't want, you know. It's like, but sometimes you can have a great product that people just would want to play it, you know. And we had a little bit of that, so. And that definitely helped.
That's like finding the right mix and match of it. I just think it's interesting because like you obviously you're doing like the development, kind of like not necessarily maybe the development work, but kind of like the creative drive of that and trying to like organize everybody, but also managing social media and marketing is not an easy task. Like that is a job within itself if you want to do it very well. And obviously writing blogs and stuff like that takes time.
I think for one person, if you're not that big, is like that shouldn't be your excuse. Like you still should be able to go and post, but like when you start becoming bigger, is like that start like, especially for us, like I still kind of like work with our community manager and it's like, but for me it becomes really hard to manage it because like there's so many things, you know. It's like there's like different games, but like if I would do it again, it's like, or if I will do my game right now, it's like again from zero to here, it's like I still would be super involved in what we're doing. It's like because like nobody knows better than you what you want to, what's your message is gonna be about your game, right? Like it's like some of the community managers, they can be like fun and engaging, but like what to deliver, they wouldn't know. You know, it's like what you're trying to tell about your product is like they're just not gonna know. Like you still need to work with them. But yeah, so it's
like you have to give them a good sense of like what your brand is and the direction that you want to go with it in order to make sure that they make content that fulfills that, for sure. But I think a good community manager should be able to figure that out. And I kind of think this kind of like works perfectly into our next segue, which is going to be about like publishing and what is publishing. And I think community management kind of falls underneath that, like so does marketing. So obviously a lot of people want to self-publish. We have a lot of indie companies out there right now, and it is a challenging time. Even some of the bigger companies who you don't think are maybe independent studios, they definitely are. And then there's companies who have other companies who publish their product for them. So we'll kind of first talk about like what does a publisher do, and you can kind of give people that information.
Well, to give you a rundown, it's like we're relatively new to publishing, and the reason why we started doing publishing is after Kickstarter, we've been getting a lot of developers reaching us out with questions, right? Like how you do this, how did you manage to get $400,000 without like having any experience in the past. It's like, it's like, what you guys did, like what worked, what didn't work. And we've been helping developers and working with them behind the scene a lot. There's like some of them is like Russian publishers, we've been helping them a little bit on the US sides and things like that. And then we just felt
more like consultation stuff that you were doing.
Consultation. Sometimes we've been even like taking them to the events like PAXs, and like we go PAX West, PAX South, and we felt like, stuff. Hey, it's like it feels like we are publisher without being publisher, without
reaping the benefits of it. Yeah.
Right. without like getting like paid for that. It's like it's not that, it's like we just don't have time for that. It's like if somebody wants us to officially help them, they can come and like we can at least invest back to that. It's like taking to like, as you probably guys know, is like the events can be like super expensive. It's
Very,
like we're like, well, there's opportunity for us to share that cost with smaller developers that want to showcase their games, and things like that. And I think what publishing is experience, right? Like why you want to work with publishers, not because he's I don't know, we'll put like just put the case of money. I mean, sometimes people look publishers for that, but sometimes it's just like you want their experience, right? Like it doesn't matter how smart you are, there's like you have to set up connections with, for example, like Valve, it's like where I can send a message and I will get response within 30 minutes, it's like where you will send a message, maybe you're not going to even get the response, like if something wrong, same thing with Xbox, same thing with like Nintendo Switch, is like getting dev kits to getting all of that. It's like you can absolutely do all of that by yourself. It's like nobody's telling you no. But the problem is that's a lot of time you'll have to invest aside from like developing your game.
So,
and that's hard to figure out how to get started.
Yeah, and that side of it is like a lot of business development. So if you see biz development positions, those positions are usually people who are really good at the network aspect of it, right? Like combining different companies and bringing them together and having those connections and being able to get those responses really quickly is a talent and a skill.
Yeah, even those like you can sometimes you can just like reach them out and like that's your like you establish connection, right? Like but in some cases, if you want a stronger connections, like sometimes you have to travel. Like for example, we go PAX South and there's like Xbox IT party on the top of the roof where we go and have a tequila shots with the right people at the right time, right? It's like so that's what like you have time for that by yourself, is like go do it. Is like that's where the publishing comes, right? Like where you have this B2B connections is like, of course, like all of that you can do by yourself, but like do you have horsepower to do that? It's like is that a good comparison? But like
manpower, horsepower, it all works.
Manpower,
it works. I understand. I understood where you were going with it.
Horses, it's like so yeah, I mean it's a lot about like offering your expertise, and so I think we're doing relatively good. It's very predatory market. It's like there's a lot of publishers that fight for the games, it's like because there's a lot of publishers, like a lot of different ones. It's like different scale, different like different spending power and stuff like that. But like I think we're doing a really decent job. It's like we're very strong. It's like we're going on the trade shows. It's like we have like the last time we went before all this pandemic stuff happened, the zombie apocalypse, it's like we went PAX West in Seattle and we got like 30 by 30 feet booth next to Namco Bandai, it's like, and we have like our own 5-meter long dinosaur that we brought from China for our game Prehistoric Kingdom. And that was like really good move because it generated them a lot of new wish lists and help with social media. We have like over 1,000 people writing that. It was animatronic too. It's like the eyes move, the mouse roars. He's like soft. Like
you have to have something that will attract people to your booth, right?
Exactly. Yeah. When you go to a trade show, it's all about like it's a thing measuring contest, right? Like who have a bigger things, and And,
I mean, you're not wrong. And I think the ROI on events can be sometimes hard. And I think if you're able to provide like social media analytics in order to kind of like be like, hey, look at how many hits we got on this, it definitely does help. And being able to provide a way that you can know for sure people are going to come to your booth and interact with social media is major.
Yeah, and logistics there are stupid. Oh, I'm sorry, Austin.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add is like that logistics for that thing is stupid. You make one mistake, it costs you a lot. It's so expensive, you know. It's like, again, that's something that is like, if you want to do it by yourself, nobody will tell you like, no, we're not going to sell you the spot, right? Like they will sell you like, you want a smaller spot, get it. But to rent the paper trash bin, that costs like, I think $70 per day from the show. It's like it's a paper trash bin, costs $70 per day. If you want the internet, it costs $3,000 per day.
Internet's so expensive, and like everyone wants to stream from their booths because like that's, you know, now it's like a thing that you need to do from your booth.
That is like you have to do it.
You have to, because you need to be able to do social media. You need to be able, and like you will not be able to use just your phone social media.
No, good luck trying to use your phone in any convention or trade show.
It's not happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's challenging, but it's also a great tool for new fans, right? Like acquisition of new fans. It's like this people there is to check out your games. It's like, and they don't really care what you show. They want to see it, you know. It's like, and then it's up to your game winning them or not. You know, it's like they're gonna give it a try, and it's up to you to hook them up.
And there's a lot of big influencers that go to these events and are able to kind of like interact with your product and be able to share that. And if they like it and enjoy it, there's potential that they'll make, videos or reviews or future content from your product. So it's like it's also a good way for you to interact with them and be able to reach out to those users.
It's really fun. Yeah, it's like when I'm there, I'll go every show we go, and when I'm there, every time you're there, you hate yourself with passion for doing that. But after you step out, you miss it. You know, it's like it's kind of like it's one of the things where it's like it's getting really hard. Like by the end of the day, it's like you can't feel your legs. Like it feels like you're walking on the bones. Doesn't matter how
you got to get that double ply carpet.
Orthopedic shoes, right? It's
Yep. You will never realize how much you're like, I love carpet, like until you've been on a show floor for 8 hours a day plus.
And I usually talk to everyone who comes. It's like the thing with trade shows is everybody expect you to entertain them, or like we have a lot of people that come and it's just like, tell me about your game. It's like, tell me what you're showing. It's like he might not be even that interested, but like it's like if you stand there and it's your thing, it's like a lot of people will come in and say, it's like, what is that? What are you showing? It's like, and
you need to
be super friendly and nice and inviting, and like you want to get them excited. So the people in your booth, they better be freaking excited.
Right? Yeah. And I always lose a voice. It's like by the end of the day, it's like I either get sick. It's like I get sick a lot on trade shows. It's just my thing. It's like I don't know.
Everyone does, I feel
like. You need more hand sanitizer if you're shaking people's hands.
That is the other thing too.
Probably, yeah, but like it's part of the package of my experience, It's like I just take that. It's like I probably don't want to get sick now because of all this coronavirus stuff. It's like, but like the trade show probably is the worst for you to get sick.
That's why they call it the PAX plague.
PAX pox
or PAX box.
Yeah, the PAX. Enforcers walk with little candies for you to like.
Don't eat anything anyone hands you. Don't
touch a thing.
You push them with a stick.
Just get a little high five hand that you now shake people's hands with. But there was a question in chat, and I was going to say if Austin, if you don't mind grabbing that.
Yeah, I was waiting for. So we had a question on basically asking about, now we're in a very connected world with everyone else, and what's a good way to establish connections with studios worldwide and not just outside of like California?
Thanks, OctoPro.
Setting up connections as a developer with studios, or setting up connections what exactly as a developer with your developers, or as a developer with other developers?
We could talk about both.
Does that make sense?
Let's try. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I mean is like if we're talking about remote operations for your game, right? Like if you develop the game and you're looking for remote workers, right? Like remote
Okay.
programmers. Is that what we're talking about, or we're talking
No, I
about
think they're more
something else?
talking about how you can promote, I guess, your own game as a person in
They
California
said,
to
yeah,
other
how
people
can we
worldwide.
as a California game company interact with the wider worldwide games market? So for instance, if I'm a San Diego game developer and I'm designing a product and now I want to share that product with other countries, right? Like what's the best way to network and go about that?
And he did say a little bit of remote work as well.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. Well, I mean, with promoting it, we don't promote our game in San Diego probably at all. It's like even though it's like that's probably not that great. It's like we would love to work more with you guys maybe, and like that's what we're doing right now maybe. It's like promoting it in San Diego for the first time ever. It's like, but before it was more it's like you won't promote your game outside of your home, right? Like like how much San Diego can offer you is like if you measure it with, if you compare it with entire world, it's like you want to push it everywhere you can. That brings us to the topic, do localization when you release your game. Like if you release your game, better to have like 5-6 languages, very important, where that's another part where the publisher can help. Like for example, we work with localization companies that will take your text and translate it on different languages and do QA testing. But you wanna as much reach as possible. Some countries is a little bit more closed than others. For example, China, it's like everybody probably knows that it's
in that case
so
you would probably
want
to work with like a publisher, like a Chinese publisher, and then
yes,
they can be
there's
able
a
to
side
help
publishers. Yeah, there's a side publishers like Tencent stopped working with people. Like I think it happened after like they had like little battle with Trump sanctions and China is like I think last year or a little bit longer. But yeah, they kind of stopped their operations with like US market, and there's like you still can get in China, but it's more like you publish it on Chinese Steam versus like on the Steam side of on the Chinese Steam side in China.
well, there's other platforms too. Like you don't have to only sell your
yeah, but the
product on
biggest
Steam.
one is there is like we game, right? Like from the Tencent, that's the competing with Steam. Is like, and it's hard to get there. But yeah, if you have opportunity working with Tencent, like you rather work with a Tencent because you don't have to give extra percent to someone else, to the third party publisher, because you have to give money to publisher, you have to give the money to Chinese publisher, and then you have to give money to platform. Where Tencent is a platform, if you work with them directly, you only give that like kind of like a Steam cut to them, and you're done, right? But yeah, it's like, so for harder to reach countries,
on your contract and deal that you have with them, yeah.
And it's really hard to get it. It's like they don't get like any digital signatures or anything. You have to sign, print it, and email, mail it to them. It's like there's a lot of bureaucracy there. It's like it's challenging, but like same like with other countries it's a little bit easier. But like if it's harder to reach, sometimes we work with other publisher together, like as what we've been doing, for example, for like Russian publishers, right? They reach to us and we're just like, yeah, we can help you with US market, it's like do proper localization, proper marketing and stuff like that. What goes to remote work, I think there's absolutely no requirement for you to have people in office to develop
as we found
your game.
out through
right, there's like
through all this work from home stuff. Actually, I didn't ask you, is your studio doing like having everybody work from home currently? We've
been having it to until they open it back again. We still, like, there was like 3 of us with isolated offices during the pandemic, like, because it's so much easier. I have like 3-year-old kid. It's impossible for me to work from home. Just like absolutely, like he's a Tasmanian monster from the cartoon. It's like he's I absolutely devil, right, the devil. Yeah, he's gonna spin in my head if I'm at home. It's like, and that's why I had to kind of like risk my life and come and work. I mean, sorry if it's a little bit too much, but like
No,
again, it's like
funny.
yeah, I had to come to like my office is literally like 10 minutes away from my home, so it's not a big trip. But yeah, we had like some of our leadership been coming, like our lead developer, my COO, the producer, Sasha from Naughty Dog, he was coming and working here. So just three of us, and
just a couple of you that are like managing stuff, so you can keep.
Yeah, everybody else were at home, and then after they lift the ban for that, they came back, and now they're back. It's getting back to like.
I think the governor just said yesterday that they're closing operations again.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is again, it's like we're
recording this on July 14th for those who maybe are watching this on YouTube.
The humanity is still alive.
July 14th, 2020, right? We're still alive.
Right. If you're listening to this message, that's mean we're all gone. Well, yeah, hopefully not. But hopefully we'll all get back on track healthy. It's like we don't need that, right? Like everybody, it touches every single person. It's like it doesn't matter what industry we are. It's like, just need to be stronger together.
I mean, we're fortunate where like we can still do our work from home, but there's a lot of industries that can't. Like,
unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I can't even imagine being in. Yeah.
So much stress. Imagine being an owner of business that like literally rely on physical workers and customers, it's like, and it's like even though you think it's like, oh, that's a rich company, they can do it. It's like the Macy's, it's like, or it's like, but their monthly expenses is nuts. Is like, even by not running the business, they still have to pay for a lot of stuff on the monthly.
You still have to pay for your studio office that no one's in. Like there's a lot of stuff that people don't realize that go
Rent
into
is still a thing.
And someone else was asking like, what was like the biggest challenge of like having people work from home?
Not much, because that's our DNA, right? Like that's how we started doing things. Is like when I started doing things, I've been sitting in my underwear at home running Kickstarter.
It was pretty easy going, yeah.
Running Kickstarter for $500,000 game.
Then I guess maybe the better question is, what do you think are the benefits of having people in office versus working from home or working remote?
Benefits is, I would say it's much better to have people like when it's like it's more personal connection, not in the way of like, oh, we all love each other.
So you can go up to a person and be like, hey, I need this thing, and describe it to them, right?
It's great. Yeah, it's so much more brainstorming happening. It's like so many more great ideas getting poured. But again, it's like that should not be a showstopper for like any developers. Like I think what helped us is like at the beginning is like looking for programmers outside of US, because US is, as we know, is more expensive than most of the countries for like payment wise, and there's a lot of talented people all over the world. So you can't just discriminate by just like saying it's like, oh, you from Serbia, you probably don't know how to program, it's like, or something like that. There's amazing programmers and developers all over the world, and you can save money by looking in the countries that don't have this like AAA scale salaries, it's like, so, and that'll help us. Like you probably will have to deal a little bit more with accents, which is, I mean, for me it's fun, like learning people cultures and stuff like that, but that shouldn't be like, that's how you can save a lot on game development, if you're a basement programmer developer. So it's like, it's actually better for you to do it remotely first if you start your own game from zero with limited budget.
I'm wondering if they felt like that answer previously about getting folks who are, I mean, obviously, if you're looking to hire folks who, are remote or in other countries, just providing your requirements on your job applications. If you say like, hey, this can be a remote position, a lot of people will flock to remote positions, versus like, for instance, Intrepid, we're constantly always wanting people to be in-house. So it's very much like, you must live in San Diego or be willing to, be moved here.
Well, for established company, that's true, right? Like if you're established team and you're working on the game, as I said, it's like it's easier to work with people in your office versus remotely. But for the beginner, for the developer who's trying to make something out of it, it's like if like that's like, well, good luck if you have money to like afford people and open office, right, and start working on your game. Then you shouldn't listen to us, pretty much. Maybe you should tell us how you got all those money that you can afford paying people right away and not having the game. It's like from the beginning. But like, yeah, it's more for like for the starters, right? It's like it's like you use your channels, find people around the world to share your passion.
And is there anything else that you wanted to bring up in regards to going back to our original topic, which was, publishing? I think my other question here was, when it comes to building a community around your product, nurturing and growing is really important. How do you feel publishers help with this? Do you think like publishers can help grow the community, or is it more of a business development, B2B type of thing?
I think it's a dance, right? Like you want to dance together and not step on each other's feet when you do that. So I mean, I feel like building community done best by the developer is like, doesn't matter how great your publisher is, because it's more personal. Like your community knows who's publisher and who's developer, and it always will sound that it is kind of like more marketing than just community engagement when it comes from publisher. Like developer still needs to be there. So you feel like
the developer should be the one running their like they should have their community management in-house versus working with the publishers?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think like you should have a strong, healthy community for a game, and I mean publishers like we can deliver you some new fans, but like you still have to entertain them. It's like you're the entertainer.
Well, some publishing companies handle that aspect of it, and do that.
Well, they still work like we still handle it. Like we still work with communities, but like you still need to work with developer closely on that aspect. It's like what to share, what to show. It's like when is a great time. It's like, and like I don't think that developer can have like just a hands down approach on, it's like, oh, I have a publisher, he's going to handle completely all of that.
I think you're going to have at least a producer or somebody who's kind of relaying your content schedule, what's going out, when it's going out, what kind of content is in that package, so that the community managers and so on and so forth and marketing can ensure that all of those things are being shared in the appropriate timeline and people are excited about it, right?
Yeah, it also really depends on your game. Is like if your game sparks interest and generates a lot of attention, your game will sell itself. It's like it will drive. Like there's like great games can make a great publishers, right? Like sometimes the great publisher can't make a great game if it's bad game. It's like some like name me any publisher and name me any big publisher that don't have bad games. It's like that have not the bad games, unsuccessful games. It's like you can always blame the publisher for like, oh, it's like you guys didn't do a great job, like nobody bought my game or something like that. But like there's any type of publishers have the games that don't sell, that people don't want to play. So that's why it's very important for your game to be fun product, so something that people can want to play.
Totally. I mean, definitely the product is the main focus point. Although I have seen, to like kind of address what you were saying, I'm not going to name names, but I have seen a bad product be marketed really well and do really well. So I think that can happen. Yeah. And I also think that a good game can also fall flat and not get the marketing that it deserves. So I think there is a good balance, and being able to do it, appropriately, and being able to get that viral interaction is important.
In a lot of cases, I would call it, like in some cases it's a luck, right? Like sometimes the bad game can go viral and people just playing it because it's bad, it's like because the streamer picked it up and had like a lot of fun just like screaming on the screen while playing that game. It's like it is complex, and I think there's like there's no like definite way of saying it's like right or good, about that topic. So sometimes it's like, again, it's like your game can sell itself. Sometimes your game might not be that great, but have some viral aspects to it that will make people laugh or play it. It's like, but
Share
and
it.
we've seen it all.
Really
right?
want people
Like,
to share that content, right? Yeah.
It's a content creation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now I feel like more than ever, a lot of it is just about keeping people engaged and happy with what you're doing. Whereas I don't know if that used to be the case, or it definitely is now. Once they see your game, you got to somehow keep them. You got to keep them going.
Now there's just so much.
Is crazy, right?
I was just gonna say, I was gonna go on that end, which is like there's just too many products now, and there's always something new coming out.
I feel like that wave kind of like with indie development. Again. No, we can hear you.
Okay, no? You're just frozen to me.
Yeah, same.
Is I'm unfroze back?
No, you're just still frozen.
I think.
But Austin is not frozen. Yeah, you're good to me, Austin. Right. It's just Alex's.
I think stream's still going, but running into a little bit of a technical issue.
But like talking about. Cool. Yeah, talking about. I feel like my personal kind of like opinion on this. I feel like the indie games had like a little wave that goes a little bit down right now, and that part of it is a lot of, because there was an indie rise, right? Like there's like a lot of indies start like making games, and it's like a lot of them didn't make it, or had games that didn't do that well. It was like more or less I feel like there's like a little bit less enthusiasm right now in indie gaming, even though there's still a lot of people making it, but like it will be like we'll see the Super Meat Boy less often kind of games, I feel like, right now than like what we saw in the past, if that makes sense, right? Like, so the bars, the bar for quality, and I don't want to say that Super Meat Boy is a bad game or anything, but like I'm saying, it's like the bar for quality is got a little bit higher, because again, with all these freemium games, like or like they're not freemium, but they're free premium games that being released by Xbox Pass, by Epics, it's like creating the market a little bit more hostile for indie developers. It's like we've seen a lot of games that are being released on Steam, and they're decent games, and they just like pass by. It's like on their like new releases, like getting on Steam on like new and trending list is like not that exciting anymore as what it was before. It's like money wise, is like before, if you're like new and released, like there was less competitions, like you're still there, but like it's like it's a good indication of your product is more or less successful, but like that's not a product indication of that you made it.
Maybe drop your camera and bring it back up. Maybe that will fix.
Oh, you still don't see me?
Yeah, no, we see you, but you've just been frozen. But we can hear you fine, so that's.
What if I just have those skills that make me? Is I'm back? I'm back. No.
Now it's just a black. Do you see a gray square, Austin? Because that's what I see.
Yeah,
too.
I do.
Yeah, maybe something happened on your camera end.
Let me see.
But I think we'll kind of like swap over to our next topic, which is kind of like wrapping things up and kind of talking about general advice, where I know you had some things that you did want to talk about that didn't really necessarily fit in some of those other categories. The first being how to deal with negative feedback and player dissatisfaction. That was one of the things that you were like, I really kind of wanted to maybe talk a little bit about how you all handled it, and maybe give some advice to other people who maybe are trying to deal with that as well.
Right. We all know that Steam is a very delicate place for like negative reviews, right? And it's like overall the discussion can be at times toxic. And for us, what we learn is it's important not to try to prove yourself right to the people that like being like you being like, I don't know if attacked is a good word, but like not necessarily attacking you, they're just like vocal, right, about their opinion. And trying to prove them wrong is gonna worsen your situation.
Don't
because
take it personal.
I've seen some developers getting into arguments with people. Like for instance, I'll give an example, but not of a specifics. They're, like someone makes a news article about your product, and then there's comments that are made in the comment section of that news article, right? And I've seen developers like go in there and start like arguing with the people who
that's
are.
bad.
I'm like, oh no, don't do that.
Yeah, that's kind of one-on-one on marketing is like you. I mean, it's kind of sound a little bit not as strong, but like you kind of want to be apologetic, right? Like you want to be. It's like, hey, it's like my response will be like, hey, sorry to see that you're having a bad experience with our product, with our game. Let me see if I can address that. Like, because that's literally how we convert some of our fans. Is like our number one negative review on Steam had like a lot of likes on it, and it was trending. You know how like somebody can leave you a negative review.
Yeah.
And if people support that, they liking it, and then that spot was like right in our face. It was like, and I personally added that person through my Skype and had a call with him, and he was like super excited to talk to me, and he was like, "Wow, you guys have really cared." I was like, I understand. I was like, I'm not here to change your review, right? Like, I don't want to ask you to. Yeah, I don't want to ask you to go ahead and make it green from red. It's like what I want to know is I want to learn a little bit more about what you're saying, because a lot of people support what you're saying, and so, and if you win over fans like that, if he starts supporting you, he's going to be the strongest defender for you. It's like as you go down the road, because they like you deliver a message to him, and he's going to deliver that message further for you, like when the similar people will appear. It's like, so you just like win over this little soldiers that will fight for you. It's like,
no matter how negative someone is, I've had people send me some really terrible messages, and I've had to reply to them, because at the time I was a community manager for the product, and I had to reply to them and be like the nicest, sweetest person. But I think a lot of the times when you interact with those folks, they are immediately like, oh, I was drunk and I was angry, and this is why I was angry. And I'm like, oh, well, we'll look into the problem and let's see if we can fix it. And like you said, a lot of the times those people can turn around and be good advocates for your company, because they're like, oh, they actually cared about what I had to say when I was drunk one night and angry.
Yeah. That's the main thing, is like it's like a nature of internet, because people in isolation feel a little bit like, in isolation, I mean, is like when you don't have a personal contact with them, they feel a little bit more
disconnected.
I don't know,
like they could say anything to you, like there's that
but
animosity.
As soon as you start telling them like, hey, I see it, it's like
I'm a person.
They automatically become softer, and they're like, well, I didn't really mean that. It's like what I mean is this, and what I mean is that, and like you can act that, like, I think the important, like you shouldn't act like that better than him, or you stronger than him. It's just like, you want to kind of say, it's like, be understandable, right? Like you're just like, hey, it's like my goal is like, I understand that there's a problem, like I would like to learn how we can address it. Can you help me? It's like, if they hear that, that's solved. It's like, they
and
will
you don't even have to say that you're going to fix the problem, just kind of understanding
just
their
listen,
perspective,
right? Like, exactly. And we had like success on converting our reviews like that. It's like where my COO was responding personally to every single negative review we've been getting on Universum. And I think we have like a little over 3,000 reviews right now. And as soon as we see that red thumb down, right, like we go in the comments and we're just like, hey, sorry to see that you have a bad experience. Let's chat. Like, let's see how we can fix that.
Some people aren't willing to change, though. That is the other side of it. There are some people who are not.
Some of them you will never win. Like, some of them is just there for not. The thing is, like, who you can win and who you can easily win is the passionate fans that there for your game. That like concerned that you're not doing something right, and they love what you're doing. It's like, so those people you can win. But some people are there for drama, and they're just to pour that oil in the fire, right? Like they just want that fire to burn.
Yeah, and I think with certain platforms, you're able to like respond and get people to kind of understand, or you are able to like figure out what the problem was and then assess that problem and maybe fix it on your end if it's something that seems reasonable. But there are some like we said before, some people that you're just never going to be able to change their mind. And at some point you do have to step away from that. Otherwise you're just going to like be wasting your time. And there are also, I think the problem with things like Steam, I worry about products like that are very automated, because sometimes you can have like a group of people who, especially now with the way the internet works and the way that people can have influencers and they can just bombard.
Review bumping.
Yeah, and I think that is very difficult to deal with, because then you have to look at like who's leading that group of people and how do I sway them or talk to them or. Right. And a lot of the times those people aren't willing to budge, and that can hinder your product.
Yeah, it's a complicated question as well. It's like for Valve especially, like people like often bash them as like, oh, why don't you monitor that better or something like that? But like for them to have a manpower to like define who's comments. Wrong or right is like gosh. Right. It's like it's just like where process. It's coming from, you know. But they do. You still can submit like unfair reviews, which is like 99.9%. We've seen that it doesn't work. It's like it still stays there.
I had someone saying some awful things about someone in regarding their like sexual preferences, and it has nothing to do like the review had nothing to do with the game. It was just literally about someone who worked at the company.
What game is that?
And it's just like why? And then they were like, no, this is a fine review. I'm like, what?
Really? Yeah.
Like, well, it's just very
sensitive topic. I would say it's like Steam would kind of like don't want to put their hands into that.
I ended up actually messaging Steam themselves and being like, hey, I went through that process already. I did because their thing for me was like, oh, well, report those type of things. And so like I reported them, and then I came back was like, here are like 10 examples of things that I do not feel are appropriate, but you said was appropriate. And they're like, oh, no, those are not appropriate. So it's like sometimes an automated process can not catch things that they should. I mean, we see that with YouTube comments. We see that with like a lot of different products. I'm not just talking about Steam. So just having that human element of you going in and checking is very important.
Yeah, it really depends on how much effort you want to put. Like, of course, like even though like we go through every single negative comment, but like we still can accept skipping few if like there's no response, right? Like for smaller games and smaller reviews, is like your review is more reliable on every single person than, for example, like for us is like we can skip like easily not to fight like blood and tears like for like 20-50 of them,
yeah.
But like if you're young, if your product is young, it's like it's probably good to be a little bit more invested and make sure that you get like nice three-digit number at least on your review counter, on Steam.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah. Or just in general, like I'm not just talking about Steam, I'm talking about just in like other spaces, anywhere where people can leave comments, or being able to monitor those comments and being able to kind of decipher what is negative feedback and how can you sway those people to like I think sometimes people leave negative comments and it's just because it comes from misunderstanding, right?
Yeah, well, it's also is when they see no response, that's that silence syndrome, right? Like where they feel stronger and others will start joining negative group. And if you start like kind of explaining yourself and being there like from the get-go, so like talking with them is much better than not talking to them. So much better than silence, because if you're silent, they're going to grow.
Especially on your platforms, the platforms that you own, like your Steam page, your Facebook page, your Twitter, like interacting with those users, your YouTube channel, whatever that might be, interacting with people on those platforms that you are, the owner of. Well, not owner of, but like the person who runs that product. I think it's very important.
Sometimes you don't like it's also is like important because like sometimes you don't want to feed the trolls, right? Too it's like because some people are there for you to respond to. It's like and you have to define those and start ignoring them, because it's like I think the initial response is good, but if the person don't want to stop doing the same thing over and over, you should stop responding to him, because what you're doing is you giving your supporting community tools to fight for you. If you don't give them the tools and you're not responding yourself, they'll be like, you see, it's like they don't care. It's like I'm telling anything. It's like he's never responded. They just don't care. But like if you responded and he's still not happy, then your community will start defending you and say, it's like, hey, you need to calm down. It's like, you're not the only one here. It's like, they already told you, it takes time, takes this, and stuff like that. So it's a sensitive.
And I think a lot of the
thing.
times you're like the person who's running that, whether that's a social media person or a community manager, or for smaller companies maybe it's just one of your developers, you'll get to know that community members, you'll get to know who the regulars are, you'll get to know who that person is who's always causing trouble, and realize like how to interact with them and learn to interact with the right people. I call
it your body, right? Like your community is your body. Nobody knows it. Like when you go to the doctor, they ask you questions. They can't just look at you and give you diagnosis, right? Like it's like sometimes you have to know, like your community is your body, and you should know the weaknesses, where it hurts. Like if you don't know that, then you have a problem. It's like you need to know your community. You need to engage with them. I mean, you can afford not engaging, and that's probably still bad. Is like when you're super big. It's like we all see is like bigger games, when they have problems, they just like ignore community, and it's getting snowballed, and it's like you just lose that trust, and the internet just remembers, right? Like they can't forget that the previous game that you released, you did a bad job. It's like they're gonna come back and start slapping you with that like rotten fish in your face.
You'll also
all the
get
time.
a lot of good feedback if you have good community management and good customer service support. Like people will recognize that and be like, these guys or gals really, really understand what they're doing, and I would buy product from them again. And I think this kind of like goes into the next question here, which was like, do you think that managing players' expectations is important, and what do you think is the best way to go about doing that?
I think it's kind of similar, is because that's how you're going to get negative reviews, is by overhyping or misguiding your fan base. It's like, and we all heard a lot of like overhyping stories. Sometimes they work well. Like for example, No Man's Sky, I would say, is like they hit that jackpot twice, and it's like, but they did the homework and fixed their mistakes. So but that's outlier. Like not every game can be like that. Or and it's like that's it's again, doesn't happen often. But like what happens is like with us, with my personal experience, is as soon as you see that things starting to go derailing, it's like something like you see that your community start getting excited about certain aspects, like because if you posted the dev blog and they took it kind of like in the wrong way, it's like that's not exactly what I was saying, it's like you better step in right away and make sure that like
adjust your blog, put out a statement,
or at least in the comments you can just like, because they will continue snowballing it, like in the comments you can even
they'll
say
hype
like,
each other up and amp each other up.
What if it's this and what if it's that? And then all of a sudden
and then it's like that information becomes like official for some reason. Like if some person says like, no dude, you will be able to fly other planets and control everything, it's like you can step in and say like, hey, it's like as much as we want that, it's like we can't promise that, it's like maybe one day if we have a bigger budget, but like right now this is what exactly we plan. Oh, that's a beautiful addition.
Oh yes, my cat. Sorry. He's kind of walking around. He's old.
Yeah, got
sorry, I distracted you all.
We got nice
we were talking about setting expectations for your players and ensuring that they don't get overhyped about something that you don't want them to.
Overhyping.
So how often does that happen?
Well, I mean, it really depends on your messaging, right? Like how often it can happen is based on how you're going to write your blog. It can happen every time you write a blog, right?
Yeah. If you make something really ambiguous, then it leaves a lot of room for people.
I would say is like it's good to talk, like based on my experience as well, is like it's good to talk about your future game design projections. Is like, hey, I'm planning to add this, I'm planning to add that, but like you should be specific that is possibility, and
it's
not
a plan, not like this is
Yeah.
going to happen, this will be. The wording for sure is very important.
Yeah, because like if you start saying it's like, oh, I'm gonna add this, I'm gonna add that, it's like they take it as promise, and that's what you don't want. It's like, because promises are like, in the game development, is not really great, because again, that's internet that's not gonna forget, and they will come back and prove you wrong, right?
They'll be like, in this article 10 years ago you said
Right?
this thing
It's like
was gonna
screenshots.
be. Yeah, they get very specific. Believe me, I have seen many things. I've had people send me full on like PowerPoint presentations for stuff. It's they're passionate people out there.
Hey, I have a person that went on. So when we've been hiring, right? I made a post on Reddit for jobs.
Yeah.
And the person started doing what is it called, the profiling on me, and he went on Google Maps, and he's like, look at his address, this is and
well,
my company was
doxing.
registered my and he was like, look at his house, like it's a residential, like this guy want to pay you, but there's something not clear, it's like this is his address, doesn't look like an office, it's like, and I was like, my business was registered at home first, right? Like, because I was doing it remotely. And he was kind of like, you see, it's like, and there's like silly reasons that he's like finding like little things that like might be a little bit like
it's
I don't know, it's like just like making it up.
It's
like,
scary.
And I was like, well, I mean, for me, it's like, whatever, dude. It's just like, feels like, it's like, you just like looking for drama. Like you could have just skip and go. It's like, like some people just need that drama in their life. It's like, he's like, hey, I'm a police for all these people because like I'm smarter. I'm gonna go investigate and tell everyone and help them. It's like okay. It's like, even though like never ever had like any bad intentions, like posting like looking for a person. It's like, hey, it's like, and it's like, he don't even explaining, like there's no even reasoning for him to explain, it's like, how I'm trying to make it bad, it's like, it's just like, it's like, hey, based on his address, it's a residential, like he suck, it's like okay, it's like, all right.
That it does get dangerous when people's like addresses are put out there and things like that. I've had similar situations like that, not necessarily my address, I've had that happen too, but I've had other people in my company, not necessarily the company I work for right now, but had situations like that where folks got a little too creepy and getting into people's personal lives, and I think like that's really dangerous because at the end of the day, like we're like, this is still a job. Like, yes, we're passionate about it, and yes, we're like creating something, but like you shouldn't,
personal
like,
life
you don't
should be
need
out
to
of
know
bounds.
like where I live. You don't need to be telling people where I live. Like that's very dangerous stuff.
Especially on the Reddit, right?
Yeah.
That's the last place where you want to have like your real information available for everyone.
If you own a company, it's hard because like that information's out there. Or if you run a website,
you have to accept the fact that it's public. Like that's why it's like, I couldn't really like start blaming him or on anything, because like he would
it's
be
information,
like, dude,
it's
I
out
just
there,
went
right?
and Google it, right? It's like I Googled it, and that's there it is. And then kind of brings me to, is like, well, then if I would be a bad person, wouldn't I try to hide that at least? Or it's like, it's like, well, I mean, it is internet,
you can't defend yourself from something like that. That's one of those situations where it's like, if someone wants to put that information out there and try to like be like, yeah, he doesn't own a house, like he's running his business out of his home, it's like, okay, so
like, so a
lot of people do that. What's the problem?
Actually not that uncommon.
Like that would be my response to that. It's like, where are you going with this? But like you said, like none of that proved what he was saying, which was that you weren't going to be able to pay the people that were working on your product and things of that sort. It's hard though. It's hard to deal with people who are saying lies about you. And that can be very hard.
It makes you feel bad about it. It's like, just like, it makes you feel unfair, right? Like, it's just like, oh wow, like where that comes from. It's like, like maybe I'm not paying the like the best in the industry, it's like, but like I'm not planning to scam anyone. It's like it's something that like you literally post information. It's like, hey, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm offering, to accept or not accept, it's up to you, you know. It's like, and then it's like somebody's trying to make it look like there's some kind of like the back thought to that, you know. It's like there's like, it's like how you even like make anything out of that. It's like how you can even like scam someone by hiring them, you know. It's like,
well, in
like
some
unless
cases
you hire
you can
and don't pay them or something, you know. It's like,
in some cases you can
maybe,
talk to
but
the
like,
Reddit mods and be like, hey, this person's like doxing me, you know, can you remove that?
Right.
And
Well,
they
it's
will.
some
It depends on the
stuff's not okay.
subreddit. Like some will moderate that stuff, some doesn't. It just depends on like the rules. I don't know what Reddit's rules are on that kind of stuff. I feel like personal information should not be something people can like share.
but is it
That
personal
seems...
when it's public? Is it
That's a
that's a
good
different
question. I
thing.
feel like
That
its
is a-
intention is to like dox you. I feel like it. But you're right. I
Because
don't know.
any information to extent is public, right? Like if you
Yeah.
find that information, that's mean it's available somewhere, and like that's different argument. But like I
Like,
feel
he
like
gave out
we
the address of the
derailed a
office.
little bit, right?
A
Like,
little
I
bit,
feel
but
like
it's fine.
we derailed from.
No, I
back
think it's an interesting
Reddit. Or
topic
no,
because
yeah,
obviously people are, you know, curious about that kind of stuff.
still related.
Yeah, it's still
Mhm.
related. And I think, you know, as we wrap it up for today, because we're at the end of it, I always kind of like just to ask people like what inspires them in their work, because sometimes you have some interesting things like some folks look at, like, I always bring this up because I think it's an interesting thing, is like looking at the fashion industry whenever they're creating costumes for their game. Like, is there something that inspires you whenever you're like working on your creative?
There's
Getting your
two
creative juices
inspirations.
flowing?
Yeah, there's just two inspirations. It's like one is a game development where I getting inspired by other games. Like for example, for Universal it was you know, it's like surprisingly it was like Plague Incorporated that
Oh.
kind of
Oh.
made me think of the game like that, which is kind of evolved to not being anything like that, but like it's still kind of, you know, it just sparked that idea. But like then a lot of fans pushed me towards adding like black and white to the formula. Like if you guys remember that, like Black and White, there's like a God game, the old God game.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Okay, yeah.
there's a lot of games that have been inspiring us to make Universum, like Civ games, Black and White, Plague Incorporated, and a bunch of others. And what inspiring me is what drives me is I just want to have like a great game that people love playing.
Yeah.
You know, it's like just again, I feel like those like positive reviews is driving me a lot. Is seeing that somebody's enjoying something that I create.
Yeah.
That's very important for me personally. On the publishing side is it's a little bit more competitive. Is like you kind of want to do more for your developers that you work with and be successful. It's kind of like a race, right? Like the publishing is more like a race where game development is more like a craftsmanship where you want like to make that beautiful statue that everybody love, you know. It's like, but in the publishing is like you're in the competition where you want to finish first. You want to do the best for your games, you know. It's like you want to do best for your developers. So there's a little different like driving factors for me personally in the industry, you know. It's like
I can understand that.
where publishing for me personally, it's like a little bit more stressful, a little bit more depressing at times, where game development is a little bit more relaxed and more like where I feel like
Maybe that's
really,
where your passion is, right? So
right, yeah, it's less businessy, right? Like it's more like, yeah, it's
whereas
like,
some people would really love the publishing side of it and not the other. So, but you know, you got to find what inspires you and what drives you.
It really depends on your personality. What you love. It's like, and I love to craft. I love to create stuff. You know, it's like that's like my hobby that can actually make your money. And in some cases, it's hard though. It's like that's why it's like when we were talking about, it's like, hey, what you can recommend? It's like I can recommend you just trying things. It's like buying lottery. If you don't buy a lottery, you're not gonna win the prize. If you buy a lottery, right, you have a chance of winning. It's
I
like
don't
if
like
you're not
the
doing
probability
it,
of that. I don't like doing any like lottery or like casino machining. I don't like gambling.
I once won $500 from the lottery. So does that sound like a promotion? No, don't play lottery. That's bad. There's a better bets on like spending your money on something. It's like for fun. When I moved in the US, I was like, oh wow, like you have this like so many zeros that you can win just by investing $2 in something, you know. And it's a gambling. The gambling is bad. Like don't gamble. Like try to rely on your skills than just gamble, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah.
do it, do you? But like, yeah, me, no, I can't.
You
I
be
have
you,
to.
right?
Yeah, like I have to. I'm like too OCD about it. But thank you again so much, Alex, for joining us. We really, really appreciate it. Sorry your camera died on you, but we still hear you fine, so that's great.
Yeah. Enough of awesomeness for you for tonight. So yeah.
The internet tried to shut you down. The camera's going away, but you know what? We still made it happen. So of course we would love for you to kind of plug all the things that you would like, where people can find you, what kind of product you're working on, obviously where they can find that product, and we'll kind of wrap up the show for today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We as a team is invested, like we want to position ourselves as kind of like a hero company that care about like indie developers. That's our like publishing motto, right? Like I'm not sure how honest it sounds, but like that's how I want to feel and how we pushing it, is like that's our agenda. Even like that's what we discuss internally, that our goal is to make our developers proud of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we'll continue pushing that. If you guys want to follow us, like I guess the best way is like Twitter, even though it's like Twitter is not best way to promoting your games. Like I can tell that it's like it makes it look like there's a lot of like likes and wish lists, but the conversation to sales is really poor on Twitter. Just FYI, but follow us on Twitter.
I agree with you, actually.
Right? Yeah.
And Twitter and spending money for ads on Twitter is super expensive.
Is the worst. Is the worst. Yeah.
And the return on it is not as high as other products. But that's we could make a whole podcast about marketing analysis.
Right. Exactly. But hey, we want you to follow us on Twitter, right? Because Twitter is good for day-to-day messaging. It's like shorts.
Yeah.
So if you wanna, if you love shorts, and we have a lot of them, but yeah, you can follow us at twitter.com/Critevo.com. Well, I totally.
/.
You see, I'm bad at promoting.
You only have to do the your handle part so that people can find it.
Yeah, I like self-promotion is unacceptable. So you guys don't follow us. Don't do anything. Leave us alone.
that is terrible. No. I'm kidding. You can follow them at Critivo or CRYTIVO on Twitter.
We will follow you. You don't need to follow us. We'll find you and we'll follow you.
Or you can go to their website, which is the same thing but .com, and then you can look at all of their stuff. I'll promote for you there.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
No problem. And the Twitter handle for Alex is right there as well. I'm sure you're okay with people kind of following you over there and reaching out to you if they would like to.
Yeah, that's fine. Will be.
And of course, Austin, where can people find you at? And thank you for co-hosting again with me from I don't know, the mountains.
Beautiful mountains.
Yes. The beautiful mountains where I wish I was.
Away from everyone.
No,
if you want to talk to me, the best way, honestly, is just directly through our Discord. And for anyone who, wants anything or needs anything, I'm happy to help.
Perfect. And I'm Margaret Crone. You can find me at Margaret Crone in all of the places. I usually keep my Twitter and Facebook pretty updated on like what I'm doing and where I'm at. I do a lot of tabletop RPG podcasts, so if you're interested in that kind of content, you can definitely check that out. And I also make video games for a living, and you can check out my product at ashesofcreation.com, where I'm currently working on an MMO for Intrepid Studios. So with that, I'll just do our quick reminders and we'll wrap up the show today. First and foremost, save the date. For August 7th through 9th, we have our San Diego Game Jam coming up. You definitely want to come join us for it. It's a lot of fun. We'll have some sweet treasures for those of you who win some of the top prizes. We'll also have some giveaways. We tend to always do those during our game jams. It's a lot of fun. If you're looking at, if you've never made a game before, this is a great opportunity for you to not only meet other game developers, but also like learn how to make a game, because it is not as easy as it sounds. And you're going to be doing it in 3 days, so you have to really learn how to like product manage your product, as well as keeping the scale down in order to create a final product. And sometimes people don't even finish a game, so there's no pressure. It's no pressure. It's just a lot of fun, and you get to work with a bunch of people as a group, and you can even put your group together if you'd like. Go for it.
I will say our community in all of these jams have been incredibly helpful to newcomers. We've not ever really had a situation where people were kind of discluded because they didn't know how to do anything. and some of the more amazing things come out of people who just never done it before and learned on the spot.
Yeah. And of course, you can find us at igdasandiego.org/Discord. That's where we do all of our communication, where we hang out. We have a lot of developers in there and aspiring developers. So definitely come tune in and check it out over there. You can follow us here on twitch.tv/igdasandiego. We will be doing another one of these next month. We already have the person lined up. We'll be announcing that soon. We also have some other content that we'll be trying to produce on this channel. So, following us here will help you out. And of course, if you miss any of our content, we'll have it up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IGDA San Diego. Pretty much you can find us everywhere, IGDA San Diego. On Twitter and Facebook, we also keep you up to date on all of the goodies and what we're up to. And we also share a lot of job opportunities. So if you're looking for jobs in the San Diego area, we try to retweet a lot of those things. We have channels on our Discord as well where people post stuff. Come join us. We would love to have you around. So let's kind of wrap it up for today. We will have this video up on our YouTube channel later. So thanks again for joining us, and we will see you all next month for another Fireside Chat. Toodles.
Bye.
Thank you.